Hey there, guys. It's Jenny McGarvey, and I am going to plan this week in my daily planner. I'm going to use stickers and rub-ons from Coco Daisy. These are from the Flourish collection. I will link up the ones that I use below. I think they're so pretty. I cannot wait to use them many, many more times because I absolutely love this collection. Anyway, so I am using my Wonderland 222 daily pages, and after thinking about it for several weeks, I've decided to add a couple of different categories to my daily planner layouts. So I have been using the same basic categories for a really long time now. Schedule, to do, which is like personal to do, dinner, because I like to track those so that I can refer back to them in the future for ideas when I can't think of anything, and work. This is like work to dos, things like that, not necessarily due dates or anything. Um, I like I said, I've been using these forever. But recently I have been wanting to add back in an important section, which would be kind of like things that must get done for work or like due date type situations. And then also a brain dump section. So not so much a brain dump, really kind of like more of a what's on my mind, what I'm thinking, because sometimes I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I really do wanna do this." And maybe it's not like for today, but I wanna get it down on paper in case I can make it happen, if that makes sense. So I'm stamping the days of the week and the dates, and I'm actually really loving these stamps. They are easy to use. The font is perfectly acceptable. It's a typewriter font. And I like that I don't have to use a clear block and then change out all of my stamps or whatever. That literally takes no time. So I don't want to make you nervous if you haven't used clear stamps. Clear stamps are great. There's absolutely no reason to do it. I mentioned this because of my ADHD. Using 7 or 6 or 8, however these weeks happen to fall, different clear stamps on blocks, cleaning them and putting them away is one of those hurdles in my brain that will stop me from doing it. So it's not a big deal. It takes like 45 seconds. I don't want anybody to think that I think that it's some big thing. I don't. But in my older age, I am realizing that I need to eliminate hurdles that I can, right? Because life has a boatload of hurdles that I cannot eliminate. So I should eliminate the ones when it is possible. I'm just sharing this with you in case you are the type of person that things stand in your way too, or you have other idiosyncrasies that you're like, oh my gosh, this is so bizarre. Why does my brain think like this? I just want you to know okay, lots of us have things that make us stand in the way. So it's just something that is a hurdle for me, and so finding some stamps that are reasonable looking, are fairly inexpensive, and are easy to use was a way for me to be able to add the days of the week in a stamped form. I did not want to use stickers because if I put them over and over and over and over again in the same place, it gets really bulky up in that one corner, and I didn't want to do that. I've done that in the past and I don't love it. So that's why I'm using these stamps. Again, you may be thinking, that's bananas, Jenny. It's not that big of a deal. Or, if you really enjoy it, why do you feel this way? I don't know. I would love to have a conversation with my brain about that. I don't consider myself lazy. I absolutely could do it. It's just that my brain makes it seem like a much bigger deal than I actually know that it is. So, anyway. All right. So I'm adding extra categories. So I needed to rethink a little bit about where I wanted to keep the overall layout the same. Like I wanted to keep my schedule in the same place. I wanted to keep my to-dos in the same place. My brain likes it there. That's where it feels very natural to me. So I needed to shift things just a little bit so that I could make all of these things fit. Now the one thing that is being sacrificed is decor. I'm not adding as much decoration. But what I realized is that the washi really does make a huge difference. It does make it feel so much more decorative. So that is a win, 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 win. And I'm not adding decorative bits and pieces. I'm simply adding less. So yeah, there's that. Now, this is where I have all of my inks swatched. Well, okay, a lot of them. I've gotten some new ones I haven't swatched, and I need to go back and do that. But, you know, on the list of things to do. And I was trying to figure out what color I had in this particular fountain pen. I knew it was probably this one. I just wasn't 100% sure. And so that's why I was going back through the swatches so that I could figure out exactly which ink it was because I wanted to switch inks that were in here. So that's what I'm doing. I figured out the ink and we're all good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ink back in that is in the pen currently. I'm going to put it back in the bottle. Now, not everybody does this. Purists sometimes don't do this because they don't want to contaminate the ink bottle. I'm not concerned with that. I know what ink it is. I'm going to clean my inks. I clean my pens out. I rinse them with water. I don't always clean them, by the way. I do sometimes give them a bath with soap, but I rinse them thoroughly with water, and I'm satisfied with that. Everybody has to do what they're satisfied with. I make sure that there's no ink that shows up in the paper towel when I blot the water. And that is perfect. Like that works really great for me. So because this sample vial is very, very tiny, the opening is very small, I just take the converter out and I put the ink directly into the converter instead of in the, like using the nib to draw the ink up. It's just, again, only because that ink bottle is really thin, so it works better to just use the converter. I'm actually not even using that pen in this video. I realized after I did all of that, but I figured some people do really like to see how people do that, so I figured I'd leave it. So I am using this yellow Lamy pen to write the activities and appointments for the week. I love yellow. I think it's a really fun color. And so finding a yellow ink that I like to use, which I mean, I like the way it writes, and it's dark enough that I can read it, was such a win early on in my fountain pen journey because, yeah, I enjoy this color a whole lot. Sometimes I like to use the blotting paper to get the excess pen ink. Sometimes I like to use my heat tool. It really just depends on more my mood than anything else, but you know, sometimes it's different factors as well. So I am using the ruler, sorry, I had a brain fart there, to measure how long the phrases or the words are, I'm sorry, so that I can draw little lines on each page for stamping on top of these lines. A, I'm doing it to draw attention to them. B, I'm doing it because it makes it so much easier for me to stamp in a very specific spot. So for me, when I'm looking through the clear block, getting ready to stamp something, and I want to stamp it on a very specific line, it can be hard for me to see that. Not that I can't see the lines, but like which one, like, I don't know, the perspective shifts. I'm sure there's a technical term for that, but I don't really know what that is. So having the drawn lines helps a lot. I really, really like having that there because then I can actually get them where I want them versus, oh, I accidentally did it a line below or a line above. And again, it's not that big of a deal. It's just that when I feel like I'm putting in a lot of work, I want it to end up mostly how I want it to be. Again, like a smudge or something like that, it's not really that big of a deal. But like when I put it in the whole wrong line, then I just feel like kind of an idiot, especially when it's only one line off versus like, oh, it's five. Okay, well, that could be intentional, right? And again, the little added extra pop of color for now is working. I can't promise that that'll last forever because there are times when I just look at something and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that anymore, But For now, it works fine. So that's what I'm doing on all of these pages. It's just adding those lines and then stamping the header. So we've got schedule, we've got important, now we've got work, which is like I already said, those work to-dos, those lists of things that I want to get done that day. And there's always sort of a hierarchy in my brain. And that's why I added the important, like, okay, these are musts today, or these are like important things today. And so that's why I've added that category, so the rest of it can kind of be like a brain dump situation. I am adding the brain dump section. However, I'm not 100% sure that will stay there. And so the differentiation between work and to do, or the important and work, will at least help that in the future. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, it's okay, right? Because again, this is how I'm setting up my super functional works for me planner. And so if that is how it works for me, that's what I should do, right? I'm just explaining my thought process to you, and really not because I need you to know, but because I want everyone to recognize what works for them and their brain. And I find that sometimes seeing what somebody else does, maybe I'm not going to do that exact thing, but it might prompt my brain to say, oh, yeah, I could do this with that. And then I find that to be really, really helpful. So that is why I share all of this process with you, and so that you can see if you are intimidated by stamps or fountain pens or any of these things, that they're really very simple and easy to use and can bring a lot of creativity and joy into a mundane process such as this of really super functional planning. Now that I have all of the headings for my different sections laid out, I'm going to go back and add some decoration. I wanted to wait till I was finished because I wanted to see how those all flushed out, like where each category was, how much room I had left over. For example, like after I wrote my schedule for a specific day, I'd like to leave a little bit of room for things that might pop up later. And so, I didn't want to put some big sticker right there. So that's why it was important for me to get the schedule down and get all the headers down so I could evaluate the amount of room that I had for each day. So I'm also going to use not only the stickers and the PET stickers that are included, but I'll also use some of the rub-on transfers as well. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that A, I love rub-on transfers, and B, I really, really, really love the Cocoa Daisy rub-on transfers. I genuinely think that they are the best that I have used, and I've used a lot of rub-on transfers since I really do love them a lot. They're just really smooth, they go on well, they're beautifully designed, and there is a wide variety of different elements, if that makes sense, and honestly, sizes too. Like there's some small ones, there's some big ones, things like that. They're super easy to use. You just cut the individual piece out, you place it on the paper, or, it doesn't even actually have to be paper, but let's stick with paper for now. And then you just rub it on there, carefully, but you don't have to be like super, super specific or anything like that. So I like to just cut the top part and not cut the bottom part too. I think it's easier to keep the leftovers easily and neatly. So, yeah, and you can layer them on top of each other. You see that right there? Like I layered two together and they look great. And there's zero bulk. Like you can't feel them at all on the paper. And that's wonderful with Tomoe River paper. I don't want this to be super bulky. I mean, my edges are bulky because of the washi, but I'm okay with that part. I don't want the rest of the pages to be really bulky. So that's why rub-on transfers are absolutely perfect for Tomoe River paper, planners, notebooks, things like that. Love them. And these designs, they're just, like I said already, they're really, really pretty. I absolutely love the colors and I love the florals too. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me to use the heck out of these, that's for sure. I'm trying to use a mix of, it's going to sound kind of weird, I suppose, but like horizontal images and vertical images, just to get like some height, some like spreading across the page, that type of thing. And then also try to be cognizant of where I put them in terms of whatever leftover room there is. Also, again, I like I said, I like to leave space for things that might pop up. So in that underneath the schedule section, even though there's nothing scheduled right now for that day, I don't want to use up a ton of room in case I need to add a doctor's appointment or something that comes up last minute. And then down in the brain dump section, kind of the same thing. Like I want to put stuff down there, but I don't want it to be like overwhelming because what if I decide that, oh yeah, I want to write this huge long list there or something like that. So a little bit of decor also just goes a really long way. Alrighty, guys, that is it for me this week. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. I will link everything up for you below. And if you have any questions or comments, please make sure to ask in the comment section. Thanks so much and make it a great day.